10 life-changing lessons from Proverbs that still apply today. In a world drowning in information, why do we so often feel lost? We have more productivity hacks, relationship books, and financial advice than ever before. And yet, we're still wrestling with the exact same problems our ancestors did 3,000 years ago. We struggle with anxiety, with broken relationships, with money stress, and with that deep, nagging feeling that we're meant for a more meaningful life. But what if the best solutions to our most modern problems aren't new at all? What if they're hiding in plain sight, in the ancient wisdom of a book written by the wisest man who ever lived? Today, we're exploring the book of Proverbs, and this isn't just a collection of dusty, irrelevant sayings. It's a practical guide for living well in God's world. Most of it was written by King Solomon, a ruler so famous for his insight that leaders from across the ancient world made long journeys just to hear him speak. The story goes that when God offered him anything he wanted, Solomon didn't ask for riches or power. He asked for wisdom, and God, who was pleased with his request, gave him wisdom in spades, along with the wealth and honor he never asked for. But this book isn't just about Solomon's wisdom. It's God's wisdom, shared through human experience and inspired by the Holy Spirit. It gives us a foundation for everything we do, and it all hinges on one core idea that makes everything else click into place. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Now, this doesn't mean being scared of God. It means living with a profound sense of respect and awe for who He is. It's about admitting that His ways are higher than our ways. When we start there, all the other pieces of wisdom begin to fall into place. So, let's get into 10 life-changing lessons from Proverbs that offer surprisingly practical answers to the challenges you're facing right now in your work, your relationships, and your finances. Our first lesson is the bedrock for all the others, and it comes from Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. We live in a world that trains us to lean on our own understanding. We've got data, analytics, expert opinions, and Google at our fingertips. We trust our own intellect and our carefully crafted 5-year plans. But Proverbs offers a pretty radical alternative: total, all-in trust in God. So what does it mean to lean not on your own understanding? It means admitting that our viewpoint is limited. We can't see the future. We don't have all the facts. Our feelings can mislead us, and our logic can be flawed. Trusting God means giving up our need to be in absolute control, and instead placing our confidence in His goodness and His perfect knowledge. Think about a big decision you're facing: a career move, a complicated relationship, a financial problem that's keeping you up at night. The temptation is to analyze it to death, make endless pro-con lists, and get paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong call. This proverb invites us to take a different path. It tells us to acknowledge Him in all our ways. That's not a one-time thing. It's about constantly inviting God into your decision-making through prayer, through His Word, and by listening for His guidance. The promise isn't that life will suddenly be easy. The promise is that God shall direct your paths. He'll make them straight. He will guide you, one step at a time, through all the complexities. This takes humility, admitting we don't have all the answers, but in return, it gives us a peace that our own overthinking never can. It's the peace of knowing the One who created the universe is personally invested in directing your steps. Guard your heart above all else. The second lesson gets to the very core of who we are. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." When the Bible talks about the heart, it means the control center of your life. Your thoughts, your desires, your emotions, your will. It's the source from which everything else flows. Your words, your actions, your habits, the entire direction of your life. It all starts in the heart. That's why Proverbs says to guard it above all else. And let's be honest, the battle for our hearts is more intense today than ever. We're constantly bombarded by things that want to shape what we love and what we believe. Social media feeds can make us envious and unhappy. The 24-hour news cycle can fill us with anxiety and anger. Entertainment can plant seeds of worldly values and ungodly desires. A toxic friendship can poison our outlook with bitterness. So how do we guard our hearts? It's not passive, it's an active strategy. First, it means being a careful gatekeeper about what you let in. You have to be discerning about the content you consume, the conversations you have, and the company you keep. Just ask yourself, is this movie, this song, this friendship, this influencer pushing my heart toward God or away from Him? Second, guarding your heart means actively filling it with what is good. It means spending time in Scripture and in prayer, and building relationships that encourage your faith. You wouldn't expect a healthy body on a diet of junk food, right? Well, you can't expect a healthy heart on a diet of worldly influences. This is a daily fight. Proverbs even says, a righteous person might fall 7 times, but they get back up. It's about consistency, not perfection. Every single day, we have a choice. Will we just passively absorb the culture around us? Or will we be diligent guardians of our hearts, knowing that the entire course of our lives depends on it? Embrace diligence and reject laziness. Our third lesson is a reality check for our culture's obsession with overnight success and get-rich-quick schemes. It's the simple, powerful wisdom of hard work. Proverbs 10:4 says, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. The book of Proverbs constantly praises diligence and warns against laziness, personified as the sluggard. It even tells us to look at nature for an example. Proverbs 6:6 says, go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. The ant doesn't have a boss or a project manager, but it still works hard to prepare for the future. It understands seasons. It works when it's time to work, and it enjoys the results of its labor. This principle works in every area of life. In your career, diligence is about working with excellence and integrity, even when the job is boring. It's about committing to mastering your craft over time, not just chasing the next promotion. As Proverbs says, the plans of the diligent lead to profit, while rushing to find a shortcut leads to poverty. In your personal growth, diligence is about the small, daily habits that lead to big changes over time. It's reading, studying, practicing, and just not giving up when progress feels slow. In managing your home, it's the faithful, daily effort that creates a stable and loving environment. Ultimately, diligence is about stewardship. It's about taking the time, talent, and opportunities God has given you and applying focused effort. It's the complete opposite of laziness, which is all about procrastination, excuses, and wanting a harvest without ever planting any seeds. Now, this isn't a guarantee that hard work will make you a millionaire. The wealth Proverbs talks about is bigger than just money. It includes stability, provision, and the deep satisfaction of a productive life. It's a principle of cause and effect that's woven into the world. Consistent, focused effort produces positive results. So the question this proverb makes us ask is pretty direct. Am I working with the diligence of the ant, or am I living with the excuses of the sluggard? Cultivate humility and reject pride. This fourth lesson tackles one of the most destructive forces known to humanity: pride. Proverbs 11:2 gives a blunt warning. When pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with the humble is wisdom. And even more famously, Proverbs 16:18 says, pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Pride is the number one obstacle to wisdom. Why? Because a proud heart is convinced it already knows best. It shuts down when it's corrected, It won't listen to advice, and it dismisses other people's perspectives. When you're full of yourself, there's simply no room for God or His wisdom to get in. In our world, pride often disguises itself as self-confidence or ambition. It's the executive who can't take feedback from their team. It's the spouse who refuses to admit they were wrong. It's the student who's too arrogant to ask for help. It's the need to post a perfect, filtered version of our lives online because we're terrified of looking weak or flawed. Humility, on the other hand, is the soil where wisdom grows. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. It's seeing yourself accurately in relation to God and to others. It's admitting your limits and your desperate need for grace. So how do we grow humility in a world that screams for self-promotion? It starts by being teachable. When someone offers you constructive criticism, do you get defensive or do you listen for the truth in it? Humility is being quick to apologize when you're wrong and celebrating the success of others without feeling threatened. Most importantly, biblical humility comes from the fear of the Lord. When you stand in awe of an all-powerful, all-knowing God, your own accomplishments and intelligence are put in their proper place. You realize how little you actually know and how much you have to learn. Pride leads to a fall because it's built on the shaky foundation of self. Humility leads to honor and wisdom because it builds on the rock-solid foundation of God. Walk securely in a life of integrity. Our fifth lesson holds the secret to a life free from the nagging fear of being found out. Proverbs 10:9 gives this incredible promise. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be known. Integrity means being whole, undivided. It's when your private life and your public life are the same. It's when your words match your actions and your character is consistent, whether you're in the boardroom, the living room, or all by yourself. It's about being the same person no matter who is watching. In contrast, the person who makes his ways crooked lives a fractured life. They're one person at church, another at work, and someone else entirely at home. They say one thing to your face and another behind your back. And that kind of life is exhausting. It's a life filled with the constant stress of juggling lies, hiding secrets, and fearing exposure. There is zero security on a crooked path. But walking in integrity, that brings a deep sense of security. When you live honestly, you don't have to worry about getting your story straight. When you treat people fairly, you build a reputation for trustworthiness that becomes your greatest asset. When you make a mistake and you own it, you might face consequences, but you won't be destroyed by a cover-up. The confidence that comes from integrity lets you stand firm, even when life gets shaky. Think about it today. In business, integrity means refusing to cut corners or deceive a customer, even if it costs you the sale. In relationships, it's being faithful to your commitments and speaking the truth in love. Online, it's making sure your digital persona is an authentic reflection of who you really are. A life of integrity isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest when you're not. It's about a commitment to being whole. This proverb promises that while a crooked path always leads to exposure, the path of integrity leads to a deep, unshakable security that no amount of money can ever buy. Choose your words. Carefully, they have power. This sixth lesson is one we need tattooed on our eyelids in our hyper-connected, opinion-filled world. Proverbs 18:21 lays it out. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Your words are not neutral. They are powerful forces that can build up or tear down. They can heal, or they can inflict wounds that last a lifetime. They can create life-giving relationships, or completely destroy them. With just a few sentences, you can inspire courage in a friend or crush their spirit with criticism. You can spread gossip that poisons a workplace, or speak a word of encouragement that builds loyalty and teamwork. Just think about the sheer volume of words we use every single day in texts, emails, comments, and conversations. Each one is a seed that will produce fruit of either life or death. Proverbs 16:24 says, "Gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones." Gracious words bring life. They are words of kindness, encouragement, and truth spoken with love. On the flip side, harsh words stir up anger. Gossip separates even the closest of friends. Flattery can be a trap that feels good, but helps no one. Proverbs constantly tells us to be slow to speak and quick to listen. So, before you speak, before you type, before you hit post, wisdom says to pause and ask, are my words bringing life or death here? Are they building up or tearing down? Are they helpful, true, and kind? Sometimes the wisest thing to say is nothing at all. In a world where everyone feels the need to share their opinion on everything, restraint is a superpower. Mastering your tongue is a lifelong journey, but it's essential for a wise life. Remember, your words have creative power. You're shaping the reality of your relationships and your own heart every time you speak. So, speak life. Practice generosity and kindness. Our seventh lesson is a direct challenge to our default setting of scarcity and self-preservation. Proverbs 11:17 says, "Your kindness will reward you, but your cruelty will destroy you." And Proverbs 11:25 adds, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." The wisdom of Proverbs reveals a beautiful paradox. The more you give away, the more you seem to have. Generosity makes your world bigger, while stinginess makes it shrink. And this isn't just about money. It applies to your time, your talents, your attention, and your compassion. When you have the chance to help someone, to offer a kind word, or to share what you have, and you choose to do it, you're not just blessing them, you're setting yourself up to be blessed. The verse says that whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Haven't you ever noticed that helping someone else with their problem often puts your own in perspective, or that encouraging someone who's down can actually lift your own spirits? That's this principle at work. Cruelty and stinginess, on the other hand, are self-destructive. When you hold on to what you have with a clenched fist, when you refuse to show compassion, when you're harsh with people, you are slowly poisoning your own soul. A life focused only on me and mine becomes a small, isolated, and poor life, no matter how much money is in the bank. Proverbs 3:27 puts it bluntly, "Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in your power to act." This is a call to be proactive, with kindness. Look for opportunities to be generous. When you feel that nudge to give, whether it's your money, your time, or your expertise, fight the urge to hold back. That hesitation might be the very thing holding you back from what God wants to give you. Kindness and generosity aren't just nice things to do. They are strategic investments in your own well-being and a core reflection of God's character. A life of open-handed generosity is a life that's open to receiving all that God has for you. Prioritize righteousness over riches. This eighth lesson speaks directly to one of the biggest idols in our world, wealth. Proverbs 10:2 gives us a vital dose of perspective. Ill-gotten treasures have no lasting value, but righteousness delivers from death. It's important to know that Proverbs is not anti-wealth. In fact, as we've seen, it often connects diligence with financial stability. The warning here is all about how you get your money and what place it holds in your heart. Ill-gotten treasures, wealth that comes from dishonesty, from exploiting people, or from cutting corners, are ultimately worthless. They might buy you temporary comfort, but they come with a spiritual poison that rots your soul. The real goal of a wise life isn't to accumulate wealth, but to pursue righteousness. Righteousness simply means being in a right relationship with God and with others. It means lining up your life, your decisions, and your character with God's will. This, Proverbs says, is what delivers from death. It leads to true, lasting life, the kind of life full of peace and purpose that money can never buy. Proverbs warns that those who trust in their riches will fall. When wealth becomes your foundation, your security, and your main goal, it has become an idol. That leads to pride, anxiety, and a constant fear of losing it. But when you see wealth as a tool, a blessing from God that you get to manage wisely and use for good, it loses its power over you. This requires a huge shift in our thinking. It's about finding your security in God as your provider, not in the size of your bank account. It's about caring more about your character than your portfolio. It means being willing to choose the path of integrity, even if it's less profitable in the short term. True fulfillment is found not in what you own, but in a life lived right with God. So, are you chasing riches or are you chasing righteousness? Proverbs is clear that only one of those paths leads to a life of real, lasting value. Seek justice and defend the vulnerable. Our 9th lesson shifts our focus from just personal wisdom to our responsibility for the community around us. Proverbs 21:3 teaches, "To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice." Let that sink in. This verse tells us that God is more interested in our ethics and how we treat people than He is in our religious activities. You can go to church every Sunday, sing all the songs, and even give a lot of money, but if your life isn't marked by justice and righteousness, God is not pleased. As Proverbs says, justice brings joy to the righteous, but it terrifies evildoers. Doing what is right and just is not a passive suggestion. It's about having an active passion for fairness and for defending those who can't defend themselves. Proverbs is filled with commands to care for the poor, the widow, and the orphan. It warns judges not to take bribes and condemns businesses that use dishonest scales. What does that look like for us today? It means caring about integrity in our workplaces. It means speaking up when we see injustice, whether in our community or our own family. It means using the influence we have, our money, our time, our voices, to lift up those in need. Honoring God with your wealth isn't just about tithing, it's about actively using your resources to promote what is right and fair in the world. This principle forces us to look beyond our personal piety and ask about the real-world impact of our lives. Are we contributing to a more just world, or are we just turning a blind eye to the suffering around us? Your acts of justice and compassion are a form of worship that is incredibly pleasing to God, even more so than empty religious rituals. Listen to advice and accept correction. Our final lesson brings us full circle, right back to humility. Proverbs 19:20 gives this simple command: listen to advice and accept discipline, and at the end, you will be counted among the wise. So, there you have it, 10 powerful lessons from the book of Proverbs. We need to trust God completely, guard our hearts, work with diligence, and walk in humility. We've learned our words have the power of life and death. That generosity leads to a fuller life. That righteousness is worth more than riches. That we have to pursue justice. And that wisdom comes to those who are willing to listen and learn. What's amazing is that this wisdom, written 3,000 years ago, isn't just relevant. It's essential for navigating our world today. These aren't just nice ideas. They are God's strategies for a life that actually works. They are a roadmap to peace, purpose, and stability in a world that feels more and more chaotic. And here's the sobering part. Solomon, the man who wrote much of this, failed to follow his own wisdom in the end. It's a powerful reminder that just knowing these things isn't enough. We have to humbly apply them day after day, relying on God's grace. The wisdom of Proverbs isn't locked away. It's available to anyone who will humble themselves, fear the Lord, and seek it with all their heart. If these timeless truths have been helpful for you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more content that brings ancient wisdom to our modern lives. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 10 lessons hit home for you the most right now? Share it in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And finally, consider sharing this video with a friend who you think could use a little wisdom. Thank you for watching. Now go and live wisely